My beloved child. Just minutes ago, something happened that made the person you love stop whatever they were doing. They reached for their phone. Opened your conversation. Closed it. Opened it again. Then finally typed, "Please open this right now." A few seconds later. Another message. Something huge just happened. And then. Nothing. No explanation. No long paragraph. No answer to the question already forming in your mind. What happened? But here is what you need to understand. The person you love wasn't trying to scare you. They weren't trying to create drama. They had just discovered something connected to the two of you. Something they had believed for months was completely wrong. And the moment they understood the truth, the first person they wanted to talk to was you. Because what happened just minutes ago changed the meaning of one of the most painful moments in your relationship. A moment your soulmate had blamed you for. A moment you thought they understood. A moment that may have kept both of you apart much longer than necessary. And when your soulmate finally learned what really happened, they said, "They thought I knew." The person standing beside them answered, "Yes." Your soulmate went completely still. Then, all this time? Yes. Your soulmate looked at their phone and whispered, "I have to tell them now." Before we continue, remember this is emotional storytelling, not a literal claim that we can know another person's private conversations or predict what someone is doing right now. But stay with this story. Because what happened isn't simply, "I miss you." Your soulmate has missed you before. This is different. This is about a truth they were finally given. Just minutes ago. Months earlier. Things between you and your soulmate were already becoming difficult. Not because the feelings had disappeared. That may have made everything easier. You both still cared. But communication had become strange. Your soulmate was going through a difficult period. Work. Family pressure. Responsibilities. They felt as though everybody needed something from them. You tried to be the person who didn't add more weight. If they needed space, you gave it. If they were tired, you didn't demand long conversations. If plans changed, you tried to understand. At first, your patience helped. Then something shifted. Your soulmate started using your patience as somewhere to hide. Not intentionally. But every difficult conversation became, "Can we talk about this later?" Later. Again. And again. You started wondering whether later actually existed. One evening, you asked, "Are we okay?" Your soulmate replied, "Why wouldn't we be?" You looked at them. That's not really an answer. They sighed. "I've just got a lot going on." I know. Then why are we doing this right now? You became quiet. There it was. A question from you had somehow become another burden. You said, "Because I have a lot going on too." Your soulmate looked surprised. You continued, and part of what I have going on is wondering where I stand with you. They softened. I love you. You nodded. I know. Again. Love wasn't the question. You asked, do you still want this? Your soulmate said, yes. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one checking whether we're still here? They didn't have a good answer. Maybe because there wasn't one. You weren't imagining it. The relationship had become emotionally dependent on you continuing to reach. If you messaged first, you talked. If you suggested meeting, you met. If you brought up a problem, eventually you discussed it. But if you stopped, everything became silent. And one day, you decided to test nothing. Not manipulate. Not punish. You simply stopped carrying the entire conversation. You wanted to see whether your soulmate would notice. They did. But not in the way you hoped. 3 days passed. Your soulmate thought, they probably need space. 5 days. Maybe they're busy. A week. Now both of you were thinking about each other every day. And neither person was speaking. Finally, your soulmate called. You answered. Their voice sounded almost irritated. Are you mad at me? You replied, no. Then what's going on? You were tired. I stopped being the first person to reach out. Silence. Your soulmate said, so this was some kind of test. Your heart sank. No, it feels like one. You became defensive. I wanted to know whether you would notice. I called, didn't I? After a week. Your soulmate sighed. See? This is exactly what I mean. You froze. What do you mean? Everything becomes proof that I don't care enough. You said nothing. That sentence hurt. Because you had spent months convincing yourself that you were asking for very little. And now, even noticing a week of silence sounded like an accusation. You said, maybe we shouldn't talk tonight. Your soulmate answered, fine. That one word stayed with you. Fine. The call ended. Neither called back. 2 days later. Something happened that changed everything. Your soulmate sent you a message. I think we need some time apart. You stared at it. Your heart dropped. No call. No conversation. One message. You asked, is this what you actually want? No answer for nearly 3 hours. Then, I think it's best right now. You cried. Not because you didn't understand that relationships sometimes need space. Because it felt like the final decision had been made without you. You replied, okay. Your soulmate read it. And strangely, that answer hurt them. They expected questions. Maybe even a fight. Instead, okay. That night, your soulmate told themselves they had done the responsible thing. Both of you needed distance. The relationship had become too emotionally intense. Maybe time would help. You told yourself something different. They finally decided. They don't want me. So you respected it. No calls. No messages. No dramatic attempts to pull them back. Weeks passed. Your soulmate expected you to reach out eventually. You didn't. You expected your soulmate to explain what "some time apart" meant. They didn't. Again. Two people living inside different understandings of the same silence. And there was one detail you didn't know. The message asking for space had not originally been your soulmate's idea. The night before they sent it, they had spoken to someone close to them. Their cousin, Ethan. Ethan was one of the few people your soulmate trusted when emotionally overwhelmed. Your soulmate told him about the argument. That you had stopped reaching. That every conversation seemed to become painful. They said, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." Ethan responded, "Then maybe you both need space." Your soulmate didn't immediately agree. "I don't want to lose them." Space doesn't mean losing them. What if they think I'm ending it? Then tell them you're not. Your soulmate nodded. That was the plan. Ask for a few days. Then talk properly. But later that night, something else happened. Your soulmate's phone died. They left it charging in Ethan's kitchen while taking a shower after staying over. A message from you appeared on the screen. You had finally written, "I don't want us to keep hurting each other. If you want to talk tomorrow, I'll listen." Ethan saw the preview. He didn't open the phone. He didn't delete anything. Nothing dramatic. But when your soulmate returned, Ethan said, "They messaged." Your soulmate immediately grabbed the phone. It hadn't turned back on yet. What did they say? Ethan answered from memory, something about not wanting to keep doing this. Your soulmate froze. What exactly? I don't remember. Then Ethan added, "It sounded like they're done too." That sentence changed everything. By the time the phone restarted, your message had disappeared from the lock screen preview among other notifications. Your soulmate never opened your chat that night. They thought they already knew what you had said. You don't want to keep doing this, they heard. You don't want us anymore. So the next morning, your soulmate sent, "I think we need some time apart." You asked, "Is this what you actually want?" Your soulmate believed you were asking even though you had already decided the same thing. They thought, "Don't make this harder." So they answered, "I think it's best right now." And there it was. A misunderstanding built from half a sentence. But even that wasn't the full reason things stayed broken. Because your original message still existed. Unread. For months. Your soulmate never scrolled back far enough to see it. They assumed they had already heard the meaning. You assumed they had read it. Then life moved forward. Or at least tried to. You began rebuilding yourself. Your soulmate pretended to. When people asked what happened, they said, We both knew we needed to end it. That phrase bothered them every time. Because technically, you hadn't said those words. But they believed you had communicated them. Eventually, your soulmate stopped questioning it. Until today. Just minutes ago, Ethan came over. The two of them were talking about something completely unrelated. Then your name came up. Ethan asked, "Do you ever talk to them anymore?" Your soulmate shook their head. "No, still?" "No," Ethan looked surprised. "I thought you two would eventually figure it out." Your soulmate laughed sadly. "They wanted out." Ethan frowned. "What?" Your soulmate looked at him. "They told me they didn't want to keep doing it." Ethan stared. Then his face changed. "No," your soulmate became quiet. "What do you mean, no?" Ethan put down his drink. "I don't think that's what the message said." Your soulmate's stomach tightened. "What message?" "The one that night. You told me they said they didn't want to keep doing this." Ethan nodded slowly. "I told you what I remembered from the notification." Your soulmate stared. "You didn't read it?" "No, you told me they were done." "I said it sounded like they were." Silence. Your soulmate's face changed. "Ethan." He immediately realized. "Oh, no. What exactly did you see?" "I don't remember exactly." "Try." Ethan closed his eyes. Then, I think it said, "I don't want us to keep hurting each other." Your soulmate stopped breathing for a second. "What else?" Ethan thought. Then suddenly, he remembered. "If you want to talk tomorrow, I'll listen." Your soulmate stood up so quickly the chair moved backward. "What?" Ethan repeated it. Your soulmate grabbed their phone. Opened your conversation. Scrolled. Up. More. Then finally. There it was. Unread from months earlier. "I don't want us to keep hurting each other. If you want to talk tomorrow, I'll listen." Your soulmate stared at the timestamp. Sent before they asked for space. You had not ended the relationship. You had opened a door. You were willing to talk. Your soulmate sat down. Their face went pale. Ethan said, "I am so sorry." Your soulmate didn't answer. They read your old message again. Then their own. "I think we need some time apart." Your question, "Is this what you actually want?" And suddenly, those words sounded completely different. You weren't asking because you had already chosen separation. You were asking because you were confused. Maybe shocked. Maybe hoping they would say, "No. I just need one night. Let's talk." Instead, your soulmate had confirmed the separation. Their eyes filled. "They thought I read this." Ethan said nothing. Your soulmate looked at him. "They thought I knew they wanted to talk." "Yes. And then I told them I wanted space." Ethan whispered, "I didn't know." Your soulmate shook their head. "No, then, but neither did I." They didn't scream at Ethan. Because Ethan had not intentionally interfered. He had made a careless assumption. But your soulmate understood something else too. One careless assumption should never have had enough power to end a relationship. Why did it? Because communication between the two of you had already become weak. Your soulmate could have opened the message themselves. They didn't. They could have called before asking for space. They didn't. You could have asked, "Did you read what I sent?" You didn't. Everybody assumed. And assumptions filled every empty place honesty had left behind. Your soulmate picked up their phone. Their hands were shaking. They opened your conversation. Typed, "Please open this right now, send." Then, something huge just happened, send. They almost wrote, "Ethan ruined everything," but stopped. That wasn't fair. Ethan made a mistake. Your soulmate made choices too. So they wrote, "I just found the message you sent me the night before we stopped talking. You saw the notification." Your heart stopped. What message? Then you remembered. You opened the conversation. Another message, "I never read it," your brow furrowed. Then, Ethan saw the notification that night and remembered only part of it. "He told me he thought you were saying you were done, ****, your stomach dropped. Your soulmate continued, "I believed him instead of opening your message myself, then, I asked for space because I thought you had already decided you wanted out." You stared at the screen. Months of hurt suddenly moved. Not disappeared. Moved. You typed, "You really never read it," your soulmate replied, "Not until minutes ago." You felt angry immediately. "Then why didn't you just call me?" The answer took time. Finally, "Because I was hurt and scared, and I chose an assumption that protected my pride instead of asking you what you meant." You read it twice. Good answer. Not comfortable. But honest. Your soulmate continued, "I am not telling you this to blame Ethan, then. He misunderstood one notification. I built an entire decision around it, ****, that mattered." You asked, "So all this time you thought I wanted to leave?" Yes, you closed your eyes. Then wrote, "All this time I thought you read my message and still chose space." Your soulmate's eyes filled. They replied, "I know that now." You wrote, "Do you understand what that did to me?" The response, "Probably not completely. But I want to, ***, that was different." Not, "I understand everything." A willingness to listen. You didn't answer for a few minutes. Then, "I thought I gave you one final chance to talk." Your soulmate stared at those words. You continued, "And I thought your answer was that you needed life without me." Your soulmate's chest tightened. They replied, "I thought your message was your final way of saying you couldn't do us anymore." Two interpretations. One message. Months lost. Then you asked, "Why did neither of us say anything after?" Your soulmate answered, "I think we were both waiting for the other person to prove the story we had already decided was true, that hurt because it was accurate. You were waiting for them to return if they cared." They were waiting for you to return if you hadn't really wanted the breakup. Nobody moved. Time did. Your soulmate then sent, "Can I call you?" You stared at it. Your instinct was yes. Your fear said no. You compromised. 10 minutes, your phone rang immediately. You answered. For several seconds. Neither person spoke. Then your soulmate said, "Hi." You almost laughed. Months of silence. And, "Hi. Hi." They said, "I am sorry." You answered, "For what part?" Your soulmate sighed. Fair. Then, "For not reading your message. For not calling. For deciding what you meant without asking. And for everything before that made one misunderstanding enough to separate us." You became quiet. That last part mattered most. You said, "Ethan didn't create the problems we already had." I know. He didn't make you emotionally unavailable. I know. He didn't make me stop trusting that you'd come back to difficult conversations. I know. Then, but he misunderstood the message. Yes. You said, and you let that become the answer. Yes. No defense. You asked, "What did you actually want when you asked for space?" Your soulmate thought. One day. You almost became angry. What? One day. Their voice broke slightly. I wanted one day where neither of us was angry. Then I wanted to talk. Your eyes filled. You never said that. I know. You said, "Some time apart." I know. Do you realize how permanent that sounded? Now I do. You shook your head. This is unbelievable. Your soulmate answered softly, "I know." Then you asked the question underneath everything. Did you want to end us? No, immediate. No hesitation. Your heart reacted. Your soulmate continued, "But I also wasn't giving you what you needed before that." You appreciated that they didn't turn the misunderstanding into a magical eraser. They said, "If I tell myself the only reason we ended was that message, I'll learn nothing." Exactly. The misunderstanding may have triggered the ending. But cracks already existed. You said, "I was tired." I know. I was starting to feel like asking you to communicate was making me needy. You weren't needy. I know now. Another pause. Your soulmate said, "I think I made every request for closeness sound like pressure because I didn't know how to say I was overwhelmed without shutting you out." That sounded true. You asked, "So what now?" Your soulmate didn't say, "Come back." Instead, "I don't know." You almost laughed. They quickly added, "But this time, I don't know, to be the end of the conversation." Better. They continued, "I know I want to talk. I know I still care. I know I owe you better communication whether we ever become a couple again or not. Then, and I know you get to decide what you're comfortable with." You sat quietly. Then you said, "I still care too." Your soulmate stopped breathing for a second. But you continued, that doesn't mean everything resets. I know. We're not going back to where we were. I don't want to. What does that mean? Your soulmate answered, if anything happens again, it needs to be new. You agreed. 10 minutes became 40. You talked about Ethan. The message. The months apart. But eventually, you talked about the actual relationship too. You admitted, I shouldn't have gone silent to see whether you'd notice. Your soulmate answered, no, you looked surprised. They continued, should have noticed without the test. Then, but yes, if something hurts you, tell me directly. Fair. You nodded. Your soulmate admitted, I shouldn't need to feel like I'm losing you before I become emotionally present. That sentence mattered. Because there had been a pattern. Whenever you seemed ready to leave, suddenly they became expressive. Suddenly, I love you. Suddenly, don't go. Then when the crisis passed, old habits returned. You said, that cannot happen again. Your soulmate answered, if it does, you should call it out. I did before. They became quiet. You're right. Then, so I need to actually listen when you do. There. Not making communication your responsibility alone. Both. Over the next several days. You didn't instantly reunite. You spoke. Carefully. At first, conversations felt awkward. Too polite. Then slowly, the old humor returned. One evening your soulmate told you, Ethan wants to apologize to you. You asked, why? He feels terrible. You thought. He made a mistake. Yes. But he didn't owe me the communication you did. Your soulmate was quiet. Then, that's exactly what I told him. Good. You didn't need a villain. Ethan apologized anyway. His message was short, I remembered your notification incorrectly and spoke as though I knew what you meant when I didn't. I'm sorry, you replied, thank you, nothing more needed. Because the bigger repair belonged between you and your soulmate. Weeks passed. Then came the first real test. You and your soulmate disagreed again. Something small. Plans. A misunderstanding. Your soulmate became overwhelmed. You saw their expression change. The old version would have said, can we just not do this? Then disappeared. This time. They said, I am getting defensive. You waited. Then, I don't want to say something stupid just to end this conversation. You nodded. What do you need? 30 minutes. You felt nervous. They saw it. Then added, I am calling you at 8:30. You agreed. At 8:29. Your phone rang. You smiled before answering. Not because calling on time was some extraordinary romantic act. Because trust is rebuilt through ordinary promises kept. You talked. solved the problem, moved on, and something inside you relaxed. Not completely, but a little. Another week. You became quieter. Your soulmate noticed. Instead of assuming, they're leaving again. They asked, "Are you upset with me or just having a bad day?" You answered, "Bad day." They smiled. "Do you want company or space?" You chose company. Simple. This was what both of you had been missing. Questions. Actual questions. Not assumptions. And maybe that's why what happened just minutes ago felt so huge. Not because one old message proved you were destined to be together. It didn't. Not because everything bad disappeared. It didn't. Because both of you finally discovered how much damage can happen when people decide what the other person means without asking. Your soulmate thought, "You want to leave." You thought, "They want life without me." Neither was completely true. And neither of you checked. My beloved child. Sometimes one conversation can change the meaning of months. Sometimes someone discovers a message they never properly read. Sometimes a friend admits they misunderstood something. Sometimes the person you love finally realizes, "I built my entire reaction around an assumption." But even then, don't romanticize the misunderstanding. Ask what both people learn from it. Because love isn't protected by saying, "This was all a mistake." Love becomes healthier when you say, "We created conditions where a mistake had too much power." That's the deeper truth. Your soulmate could have opened your message. They could have called. You could have asked whether they read it. You could have explained what you meant. Both were hurt. Both became proud. Both waited. And silence did what silence does best. It filled itself with stories. If this message touched your heart, comment, "I choose questions over assumptions." Not as a spell. Not to make somebody contact you. As a reminder. If you care, ask. If something doesn't make sense, clarify. If you need space, explain what space means. If you want to stay, say it before the other person has to guess. Because sometimes the person you love isn't asking you to open a message because something terrible happened. Sometimes something huge happened because the truth finally reached them. And the truth was simple: you had both been waiting for a conversation that neither realized the other person still wanted, just minutes ago. Your soulmate finally saw that old message. They finally understood why your "okay" had sounded so cold. You finally understood why their request for space seemed to come from nowhere. And suddenly, months of silence made painful sense. But knowing the truth doesn't decide the future. You do. Together. Slowly. Through behavior. Through honesty. Through what happens the next time uncertainty appears. Because the biggest moment wasn't your soulmate texting, "Please open this right now." It wasn't even finding the old message. The real moment comes afterward. When something confusing happens again, will they assume? Or ask? Will you disappear? Or speak? Will both of you repeat the old story? Or finally write a different one? That is what determines whether this huge discovery becomes only another emotional moment, or the beginning of real change.